Attendees. So, very good evening to everybody. To let you know, we'll be starting around 4 or 5 minutes past 7. Give everyone a chance to log on. I will be looking for a postcode from someone to go and find a live delayed completion deal. And then after that, I'll be speaking to one of my clients, George, who's in the middle of a delayed completion deal. And we're going to talk about that. We've had quite a lot of people who've offered JV funding towards it, who I've invited on the webinar tonight to ask questions, so you can actually see kind of what goes on behind the scenes when deals are actually done and found. So we will be started, as I said, in a few minutes. And if you could put a comment in the chat box just to confirm that you can actually hear me speaking, that would be good feedback. Thank you. Okay, so I'm getting plenty of feedback from people that can hear us loud and clear, and yeah, you're good, and yes, I hear you good. So thank you for the feedback. As I said, we will be starting in a few minutes past, so in around about 4 minutes time we'll get going. Let me just go and find George. George, if you can type something for me, please, if you're out there, and then I can, from there, put you ready for speaking later. Still trying to get used to this actual system. I always used to use GoToWebinar, now I'm using Webinar Jam, so slightly different layout. George, if you're there, could you please type something in? As I said, for those that have just joined us, we'll be starting about 4 to 5 minutes past. First of all, I'll be inviting you to type. So if anyone's got a postcode that they'd like me to search to find Deal Live this evening, please type the postcode into the chat box. It needs to be somewhere that's over £400 a square foot selling price. So typically 3-bedroom properties are 400 or 500 grand or more. So if you can type a postcode in, and then I'll choose a postcode from the ones that get sent in, and we'll go from there. I prefer to get somebody slightly outside of London. Last couple of weeks have both been inside London, and we do it like a 5 or 10 mile radius. So if we can get some numbers in, that would be really good. Right, I've got a couple. TQ, I'm assuming that's Torquay. There's a much better strategy, Teresa, for Torquay. If you drop me a text, I'll put my number on here for everybody to, so that you can get it here. And yeah, I've had some clients done very, very well, but for Torquay, there is a better way of doing things than delayed completions if you are, buying houses of multiple occupation, especially, or only. So let's keep them coming in. Let's get some more postcodes coming in and getting them from all over the place. Let's see. They're for delayed completions. So delayed completions need to be done in an area that's over £400 a square foot. And when we get going, I'll explain the reason why. Before we get going, at the moment we've had an N17, which is probably the favourite so far. Definitely over £400 a square foot around there. I'm going to start in a couple of minutes, and I'll explain exactly. I'll start in 1 minute and explain exactly the process and why we're looking at £400 a square foot or more. So, yeah, we'll get going in the next few minutes. I've got an RH there. I'm not quite sure where RH is, Alison. If we can just expand on that, Alison. I'm not sure where RH is. Haywards Heath, West Sussex. We might give that one a go. West Sussex should work for that sort of price bracket. So we'll have a look. Right, let me see if I can get you live, Alison, because it's better if we can talk it through. So I'm going to invite you on as a presenter. You're going to need to press a couple of buttons, and I should get you, Alison, coming on live in a second. If that's a problem, give us a shout, but if that's okay, press the buttons and I'll see you pop up on the screen, and then we can get going. And just in case we have a problem with Alison, let's bring Abbas on, who is in Croydon. I'm going to invite you as well, Abbas. So basically, Alison, if you can log on, here we go. So let me, if you speak, Alison, I should be able to hear you if your audio is working okay. I can certainly see you. Can't hear you at the moment.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, got you now. Okay, right. So look, it's far easier when I have somebody live on here, and I can explain to. If I explain it to you, then we can explain it to everyone. Hi, Abbas. I think Abbas has jumped on live as well. Abbas, I'm just going to mute you mainly because of the background noise, just so that we don't get any background noise on. Let's just see if I can get that. Right, he's muted himself. Perfect. So, and if we have enough time, Abbas will come have a look at Croydon. So, let's go to Alison. So, Haywards Heath was RH16. So, I am going to switch onto the actual Rightmove, which means you should. I'm going to not be able to see you, but it's RH1. Did you say?
RH16.
RH16.
We're about halfway between Gatwick and Brighton. It's pretty
right.
pretty spendy around here.
Yeah, so it's probably more the Gatwick. Brighton is probably around the £400 a square foot, but I'm going to hit. Can you see the Rightmove things that coming up all right on your screen?
Yep.
Okay, right. So I'm going to hit RH16 for sale, and I'm not going to just do this postcode only. I'm going to do 10 miles. Okay. I'm going to put property type houses, and I'm going to put find properties. Now that has done its thing, I'm going to do property type. I'm going to take off terraced and semi-detached, and I'm going to add in bungalows, and I'm going to press done, and then I'm going to go to the longest on the market. Right, so here's the thing. The first property is normally a featured property, so it doesn't come into our calculation. What we're actually looking for is a property that's been on the market for a while. So Alison, normally if a property is priced right, it comes in and it normally sells within 4 to 6 weeks. Okay. If it doesn't sell, that's normally, there's only one reason a property doesn't sell. It's because it's overpriced for whatever it is. Okay.
Yep. Especially around here, properties are going in about 7 to 14 days around here.
Yeah, exactly. So, and the only reason one wouldn't is if it's overpriced. And if it's overpriced, it can sit on the market for some time. Now, if we picked on a property that was 500 grand or should be 500 grand, and because it's immaculate, they've decided to chance their arm and put it on at 550. And it's not selling because it should really be 500. We don't really want to look at that property because we've got no uplift in it. It's overpriced, yeah? What we do want to do is we want to look at a property that's on at 500 that is in poor condition and should really be listed at 450. And it's listed at 500 and shouldn't be. It's overpriced, so therefore it's not selling. And what we want to do to this property is refurbish it. Obviously, on a normal flip deal, the cost of buying and selling, the stamp duty, the mortgage cost, the holding cost, and it typically takes 8 months to do, is going to be too high in this type of price bracket to warrant anything without actually getting any added value on the property. So what we're doing is we're looking for something with potential to split into two or to build an extension, which is why we're looking at detached and we're not looking at flats. So any questions from what I've just shared with you, Alison?
No, pretty straightforward. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. So, I'll follow the process through once I've found something. Now, I'm looking at this, and that's like a park home. Park, so we're going to not do that. These aren't on in any price order. They're on. This one's been on since 2019. It's not really. I'm looking for stuff, and I should really have put minimum price in here. I'm going to put minimum price of 700 grand, and I'm going to put a maximum price in here. If I can, where's it gone? I'm just waiting for it to come back on. My thing's reacting slowly. Don't really want anything over 1.5 million, because that type of price bracket is unique to itself, and it takes quite a long while to sell.
Yep.
Okay, so now we're here. So this is going to be the featured property. So we're not looking at that because that's put on in 2022. And we're looking in total at how many properties in this price bracket. Just waiting for that to pop up. I've got a little bit of delay on my internet for some reason. So it's not come up with a number. It normally comes up with a number of properties that hit that criteria. This home farm, Brighton, looks like it's not going to get planning for anything. It does actually look like something it could potentially do, but I think it's going to be a challenge. It's got, with a certificate of lawlessness, it's got planning for 2 dwellings. So I'm not going to look at a building plot. Normally, if it's on the market, a building plot is too dear, and we can't get a lift out of it. I don't really want barn conversions or anything like that, so we're going to skip that. This one's looking like a kind of a Potton type house. Might be okay, might be not. Doesn't, first appearances don't look, I might come back to it. This one is looking tidy but dated in Crawley. This one, again, I'm looking at the lawns, and normally an immaculate house has an immaculate lawn. Let's just have a look at this one and see where we go with this.
I never thought about that, but that makes perfect sense that an immaculate house would have an immaculate lawn. It's just literally never.
It's like when I used to go around to see motivated sellers, the only time I ever knocked on a door of a house that had an immaculate front lawn and looked really tidy, I was knocking on the wrong door. it's like,
oh, look at that.
Yeah, now that's telling me that could be interior.
That tells a story, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It's a bit ramshack. So we could have picked, and that could be staff, it could be anything, quarters. But why are they showing us all these pictures and not?
I'll tell you for why. For that price in Crawley Down, it's because of the land rather than the house. Yeah.
And that's the problem with probably this. Because a lot of the price is the land, and what we're looking at, this looks like some sort of retail place, doesn't it? Doesn't look like a normal lounge, does it? So there we go. That's the barn. So we've stumbled on a very strange one, I think.
There's a lot of strange people around here, so.
Now, I don't want somewhere where a lot of its price is the land. Okay.
Yeah, that's definitely what that is, I would say.
Yeah, because we're definitely looking for something that has, and I'm hoping I haven't pressed the wrong button. Yeah, we're okay. We're looking
for something for sure, but I think probably if you're looking at things that are more in the 500 to like 600-700 bracket is probably where you'll find the sweet spot of something that's. I hate to say it, but like a no one would change situation or something like that, where someone's parents have lived in a house for decades. And
so I'm looking at this one here, and that's looking like a new build or something, and it's all modern, and this one's looking modern.
Yeah.
This one's looking a little bit more interesting, but it's a plot, so that's no good.
Ashdown Forest is equestrian, so there's loads of new builds around here. There's tons of new builds around here as well.
And they're looking like £1 million.
I feel like I've sold you the wrong area here.
Yeah, I mean, we are hitting a challenge in the price bracket, but look, this one here might be all right. It doesn't say anything in immaculate condition. normally when it's immaculate, they always say, even when it's half immaculate, they tell us it's immaculate.
Yeah,
It's
that
got,
interior looks a bit dated.
yeah. So look, for the purposes of what we're doing today, yeah, I think it's probably not quite scruffy enough, but it's certainly on the way to it. Yeah. It's been on the market since August 2021. So it's obviously going to be overpriced a little bit. Otherwise it would have sold.
Yeah, Horsham's a very nice area as well. So
yeah, my uncle lives there. Uncle Bob.
Oh.
Yeah, Bob's your uncle.
That's pretty funny.
I actually prefer slightly dearer, but first thing we're going to do is to turn around and say, okay, well, we're looking at this property and we're going to go and look at the floor plan. The floor plan, I'm hoping that the square foot isn't including the garage, which it looks like it is, so they're cheating.
Most of them round here include the garage if it's
attached.
Yeah.
So look, what I'm going to do is run the first floor at 680. I'm going to assume that the first floor is very similar. So it's about a 1,200 square foot property, yeah? Plus the garage. Now, 1,200 square foot, 745,000. It's coming in around 620 pound a square foot. So, which is probably a bit on the dear side, which is why it's not selling. Okay. Now that means now I'm going to flip to this thing here now, and I'm hoping that I can draw on here. It sometimes doesn't let me go over a certain line. No. Turn whiteboard on. It's not letting me draw on it, unfortunately. Oh, here we go. It started now. So let me clear it. Okay. So looking at this property, the money with this is, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to draw up very high. It's not having it tonight. Yeah, it's only drawing up to this line. So hang on, let me just get over this technical issue and see if I can reduce the size of this down a little bit. No, it's not having it. It's right at the top of the... Apologies for my IT skills.
It's all right. It's not what we're here for.
All right. Let's see if I jump back on here. It's going to... No, it's just going to give us that. Sorry. Right. Come on, Glenn. Let's get back here. Back to this right move. I'm going to refresh this and I hope we don't lose it. And we're going to go onto the floor plan. There we go. Okay. So I'm just going to have to describe it now. What I would be doing with this one is building like a 4 meter permitted development extension on the back. Now, the kitchen is 17 foot across. The dining room is about 10 foot across and the sitting room is 11 foot across. So 10, 20, 37. So we're going to work on 40 foot. So if we go out 12 foot, which is roughly 4 meters, yeah, times 40, we're going to get 480 square foot onto the back of it. Yeah. So if we go up, if we double that, we're going to 1,000 square foot if we did 2-story. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Now, the one challenge that we do have is sometimes it outprices it in the area. Yeah, we don't want it to be the dearest house on the street and out of context with the rest of the road. But if we added 1,000 square foot to this property, you know, the kitchen breakfast room was extended and the dining room was knocked into one. The sitting room was perhaps converted into a sitting room and an office, so we're not out of proportion. And you get a big master bedroom, probably going to 5 bedrooms would be optimum, but the master bedroom would have an ensuite with it, and maybe even the second bedroom would have an ensuite with it. That will all add value to the property, yeah. And the kitchen would have like the bifold doors and, you know, really bring it out into the garden. So the kitchen is the right side of the house for doing this. But at £620 a square foot, we're adding pretty much 1,000 square foot. We're adding 620 grand onto the price. Okay, so if we add that to the price, we're nearly doubling it. So we're bringing it up to about what, 1,400, 1.4 million. Now, one of the challenges is, of course, like I just said, the ceiling price. But technically, we can build that extension for around about 120 grand, and we'll probably spend 100 grand on refurbishing the property, of which half of it will be spent on the kitchen. Okay, so we're going to spend somewhere in the region of about 220 on that property. Let's say we're going to spend 200 grand on it. Okay, now obviously there's an element of overpricedness as well, but we're actually working on a property that potentially, with planning, can actually have 1,000 square foot extension on it. It doesn't look like there's going to be an issue with doing that with neighbours or any issues like that. Obviously, we get architects and that to check it out for us before we proceed. But we would normally send a letter to the people that I've pre-done. I'll get through the process in a minute once we've identified the properties, and we send letters out. Principle, if you look at 600 additional value to the property with a 200 cost, including a refurb, which should bring it up to a saleable position. So we should be looking at somewhere around about the 400 grand less estate agency fee. So we're looking at probably around about 350 profit in this, if it all goes to plan.
Yeah.
Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes total sense. Yeah. I mean, would you like completely change the layout as well while you were doing the extension, or would you just make the downstairs a bigger version of what's there?
Right. We've got to look at all the things that are going to add value to the property.
Yeah.
You've got a downstairs toilet and a utility.
Yeah.
If we come out above where the kitchen is,
yeah.
And I can't show you because it's not drawing, but
no, I get
we're coming out 12 feet. We're going to create a kitchen and dining room that is, 17 by 12, 24. We're going to have like 25 foot by 17, 27. We're going to have an almost 30 square foot kitchen.
Because I would be inclined to make that an open plan area.
Yeah, exactly. So as I said, it's going to be about 30 square. It's going to be about 30 foot by 30 foot. So it's huge open plan area, bifold doors onto the garden. The sitting room I'd probably leave as it is and behind it I'd have an office or something like that, rather than having just one long funny shaped sitting room.
Yeah, I was thinking about an office and I would probably change some of that garage into an office.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's not used. it could add value to it. But or the dining room could be moved into where the sitting room is, and then we'll lose the dining room as part of the kitchen. Yeah, the main thing is the master bedroom upstairs. Is you're going to get an amazing master bedroom. Yeah,
you could have a dressing room in that, and you could still have the bedroom up there.
You get to 5 bedrooms, a lovely master bedroom, which is what the people that own the owners, they're buying that bedroom, they're buying that. Yeah, and then there's things
those
like
split levels. With those split level stairs, that would be a really nice house. I reckon you could easily do that for over $1 million, easily.
Yes, yeah, and that's why it needs to be in a dearer area, because if this was in a cheaper area, the price per square foot, the value wouldn't be added to it.
Yeah, makes sense.
But the cost is the same. So that in a nutshell is what we're aiming at trying to do. Yeah.
Got you.
On these particular things. So let me come back to the actual webinar control, and I'm now going to go into my slides and talk through with everyone exactly how we can help you do these. So as you can see, just looking at this property, and it is a numbers game, because we have got a pre-written letter that we send to vendors, and not all vendors are going to want to play ball with us, but we are going to be able to pay them probably 50 grand more than their overpriced property that's not selling. So they're going to end up potentially 100 grand better off. Okay.
So you wouldn't just offer them the money they're asking for, which it hasn't sold at?
No. We're looking to do a delayed completion. If we exchange contracts with them, if they're living there, we may put them in rented, and that we might offer to pay for it, or we might offer to pay for the mortgage while they go into rented. Okay. So again, that's going to put people off. However, an extra 100 grand, extra 150 grand in their pocket for doing it is quite often 2 years' salary for people, or 3 years' salary.
Yeah.
So it's they're happy with the inconvenience for the extra money they're going to get. Okay. So just talking through, I run a mentorship program for property generally, but for delayed completions, is one of the specialities that we teach and run. Normally do it at £10,000. Last few weeks I've been taking on 3 people a week, so I can spend quite a lot of time with them during the week, and I've been charging £5,000 inclusive of that to do the following. And what we're going to do is spend an hour-ish going through the process. And I'll also send you a 1 hour video to watch first, something that you can get at, I think it's available at $29.99 plus VAT. I'll put that up in a little while, which is about an hour of going into these in a lot more depth. I'm going to be hands-on to help you find the potential deals. So I'm going to spend some time with you finding the first 4 or 5 of these. And you're going to look for around about 50 to 100 of these. And then we're going to send out the letters. Every 2 weeks, we're going to send out, let's say, 100 letters. And every 2 weeks, we're going to swap 10 or 20 of them over for new ones, so that we only send a maximum of 10 letters to each person. This is done through a third-party company that actually prints the letters and puts the stamps on them and posts them out, all for the price. And it's all for the price of like a second-class stamp. Okay. So, and I'll go through to make sure you're getting the right ones. So we'll check some of the ones you've chosen, and then we'll post to them. Then you'll get people phoning you up, and I'll have a conversation with you as to what you should say to them on the phone and how to go around and see them. Okay. And when you do go around to see them, my biggest challenge was people were getting that far very quickly, but that's as far as they were getting. They were falling down when they went round to see vendors. So now if you went round to see a vendor who's potentially interested in this, based on the letter that we send them, you would call me, and I would you would do what I call rapport building and spend an hour with them, chatting to them first, so they get to like and trust you. But then you would call me as your business partner, and then I can talk them through the business offer. Okay. And any questions that typically you might not be able to answer, I can answer. Okay. So there's a negotiation with the vendor. Then there's trying to persuade them to use our legal team rather than their own legal team. And I've got that one down to a fine art, because people that use conveyancing solicitors, the conveyancing solicitors don't recognize this type of thing and just say, oh, I wouldn't do that, that's too risky. If you don't pre-warn them that their solicitor might say that, you're never going to get them back again. But if you say something to them like, you know, potentially this is a commercial transaction, if we go ahead, and it needs a commercially minded lawyer. So if your lawyer is not commercially minded, if they're old school, fuddy-duddy, old, they've been there years, they're more than likely going to go, oh, I wouldn't do that. But if you go with a commercially minded lawyer, they'll go, oh yeah, if we protect you properly with the contract, you can make more money. So I get it. All right. So we have to explain that bit. And there's a bit more detail that I explained to them to get them on side with our legal team, which we've got fixed costs because they know the contract already. Okay. Or when I say our legal team, I mean the legal team we use for vendors. Okay. We will make sure that our architect goes over any potential project to make sure that we're not wasting our time. We wouldn't normally do that until the negotiations side has been agreed, because we don't want to waste the architect's time looking at 50 properties and writing to them and only getting 3 or 4 calling you back. And then moving forward, help finding a JV partner. And you may have seen an email I sent out yesterday with another one of my clients who needs a JV partner for a project that he's doing. So that's in a nutshell a very condensed down process that I can help you with all the way through. There are a lot of hurdles here if you don't know what you're doing. You'll get access to all the documentation that you need. Sometimes we use option agreements or lease option agreements. Sometimes we actually have delayed completions, which a solicitor would do, lockout agreements, partnership agreement, heads of terms with, if you've got a JV partner and the seller and you, there's an element of making sure that everybody's safe and everyone gets their right share at the end. The heads of term agreement, I always explain it to the vendors as, look, what we're going to do is we're going to come up with a concept that we're both happy with, and we're going to give it to the solicitors to legalize. That puts their mind at rest about, you know, what if this, what if that. Okay, it is quite an art form dealing with vendors because this isn't a normal standard transaction. Okay, so I'll make sure you're armed with the documents, and then when you're there, I can say, look, get them to sign this, and it just means that they've agreed with you to do the deal subject to things. Okay, or it may be that you just hand it straight on to solicitors. Every deal is different. Okay. So use my experience. I've already learned the hard way many times. There's quite a lot more things to this, like the JV partner will want to charge on the property. And if the JV partner is lending 200 grand on the property, they're not going to want to put 200 grand into something without a charge. On the other hand, the vendor isn't going to want a 200 grand charge on their property before we've done anything. So we've got a pre-agreed sliding scale charge, okay, that's based on however much we've put into it up to a point, yeah, up to whatever point there becomes an issue if one comes. I have 92 clients who are now millionaires through what I teach them. Many of them have done that through delayed completions. Many have done it through actual capital appreciation from portfolios they've built over the years. I've personally become a millionaire 3 times over in 3 different industries. And I also do a lot of consultancy work for a lot of millionaire clients and also solicitors. Solicitors, I charge £1,000 an hour to come up with solutions that they don't, creative solutions that sometimes they get stuck and just, sometimes you don't see the wood for the trees. So that's what you're going to get with me. Now, the actual process is that if you text me on the number that I've sent, and I'll send it again in just a second. I'll go to the chat box. I'll send a quick, my mobile to everyone is to send me a text to say that you're interested. We'll take £1,000 deposit off you now. We'll have an hour conversation with you going into a lot more detail, and at the end of that process, you'll decide to proceed or not. And then if you don't want to proceed, you'll get a refund on the £1,000. And if you do want to proceed, you just pay the balance of the 4,000. Then we're up and running and doing deals like the one we've looked at. So I'm now going to see if I can find George. It looks like you're here, George. So thanks very much, Alison. Do you have any questions before we
no, all good.
jump on? Okay. It is all quite straightforward. But it's like anything, it's straightforward if you've done it lots of times.
Right. So the thing is, there's a whole bunch of, like, that part of searching for a property is reasonably straightforward, but then it's all of the stuff after that. I've never done it. You've done it loads of times. And so, yeah, it's easy for you, not so much.
Yeah. The biggest challenge I have with clients is they give up too soon. So one of the secrets, don't do it if you're not persistent.
I'm a recruiter, so I'm definitely
you're very persistent. Okay, right. So look, if you're interested, we can pursue this deal that we've just looked at tonight and others. Drop me a text on that number and we can have a look at that. I'm now going to go on to George and ask George to actually come on as a presenter, please, George, if you're there. I think you've got a few buttons to press to bring you over. But I've sent you an invite to join us as a presenter. And if you're having any trouble, please just type anything on. So, George, if you're there. All right, he's just actually messaged me to say he's not on here at the moment. Let me just see if I can call him and you can hear the actual phone call. He said his son's become a bit restless, so it may be that he can't chat at the moment. No, it looks like he's got a challenge, so I apologise about that. I will try and get him back on for next week when we do this. But in the meanwhile, he's looking for 60 grand. We've had quite a lot of people responded to the email I sent out yesterday that are interested in investing 60 grand in return for 25% of the profit. His deal is that with a 60 grand refurb in the existing property, the property should sell. He's got about 350 grand mortgage, and he's happy to agree that when the property sells, that you'll get your investment back out of the property. So without any profit, but the planning permission should go through. The architect doesn't see any problems with gaining planning permission to build another house on the side. At the moment, there's an extension there that's a little bit single story, bit basic, which is going to be knocked down. And we're going to build a property actually on that plot. that should have a value of just over £1 million once it's done. It's going to be around about 1,500 square foot from memory, 1,200 square foot. It's been a while since I looked at it last time, but there is a minimum at least of 400 grand profit, because bear in mind we're not paying for the land. The owner is getting a chunk of the profit, and obviously George is getting a chunk of the profit, and whoever puts in the money is going to get 25% of the profit, estimated at a minimum of 100 grand. So I'm now going to go to questions. So if you've got any questions about either George's deal or the deal that I just looked at with Alison, or delayed completions in general, please type away and I will answer any questions you've got. So let's start with Carl Matthews. So the upstairs only covers half the garage, so not over the downstairs utility room. Would you extend the upstairs dimensions or the downstairs dimensions? It depends on the architect, Carl, and where we're going to get maximum value on these things. It's looking at getting, are we going to get at least 4 or 5 times the cost of the extension? So it may be over the footprint of the downstairs plus the just the downstairs extension. So if we extend the downstairs extension by 600 square foot, very likely we're just going to go over the top of that. Looking at the one we're just looking at, we've only looked at it for a few minutes, so it's not all fixed in absolute stone. It certainly looks to me like you can get a 500 square foot extension downstairs, and if you've got a 2-story extension, it's 1,000 square foot. Obviously the stair space is already there, so we haven't got to lose any of that. Clara says good evening. Hi Clara, she's been around for a long while following me and doing bits and pieces. Yogan's just said, is that 100 grand plus 60 grand returned? So Yogan, yeah, the idea is that the 60 grand is returned on sale of the first property. So which takes about 8 months to do the refurb, to turn it all round. Okay, so you're going to get whatever initial investment you put in. When that's sold and the title's split, that leaves the plot unencumbered. That means that we can build on the unencumbered plot and get 100% development finance. Obviously, the cost of that's got to be covered out of the project, but you can borrow it all and pay for it at the end. So no further funds are required for that. And yeah, if the profit is 400 grand, then you get 100 grand plus the 60 grand. So, but that's not going to come for some time after, because obviously it's got to be built and sold. So we're estimating 18 months for the 100 grand and 8 months for the 60 grand. But nevertheless, a great return. So if you are interested, I've texted everybody my mobile number. So if you're interested in being one of my 3 people this week, there was a couple of people who we had to say no to last week that have jumped on again this week. Just drop me a text. I'll call you this evening. You pay £1,000 deposit, and then we'll have a chat tomorrow for about an hour, and then you can either pay the balance or get a refund. So so Yogan, hopefully that's answered your question. And now going to Victor. Do delay completions work in central London, SE1 area, for example? So Victor, we have had a look the last couple of weeks at properties in that type of area, and yes, they very much work. I would stick to stuff up to about £1,000 a square foot. I wouldn't go into the 2,000 square foot bracket, because that is much harder to sell. Maybe trickle into the £1,200 a square foot. There is lots of complications in central London with grade 2s and different covenants, and also the different dukes and duchesses and all that have got long leases on properties. So we try and stay away from the long lease properties. So maybe not in prime central, maybe just slightly around the edges of prime central, but certainly within a few miles of SE1. Pat said, has your estimate of build and refurb costs taken into account increasing building material costs? Yeah, I think over the last year, chatting, I've added 10% on. So materials have gone up 10%. If they've gone up a little bit more than that across the board, the actual build cost, I would say, is going to be £100, £120 a square foot. It used to be 100 just for the shell. And then the internal refurb, 100. So as I said, around just over 200, 220, 230 in total for the whole thing. Hopefully that answers your question, Pat. And Sadiq's just said, what's the build cost per square meter? I've done it in feet, so you just adding it or multiplying it by 11, Sadiq. So the thing is, property prices are nice and high in them areas. So as long as there is an increase in value on the property prices, and the property prices, or they stay level and we don't have a big drop. Even if we have a big drop, we're not going to lose. We're just not going to make quite as much profit. So yes, there has been an increase in building materials, but we've also, in the type of areas we're looking, there's been an increase in value of the properties as well. So I think that's answered everybody's questions. So as I said, if you are interested in pursuing the delayed completions and you would like my help to hold your hand through doing them, just drop me a text to the number I've put on here that you should have. Now, I'm also going to just put this up here. So we've got a video at £29.99 plus VAT. If you should be able to see that now. That is me explaining delayed completions in a lot more detail. The video is around about 45 minutes, so it's just all about delayed completions. You'll pick up a lot of information on that video, so you can just click the button and you can buy that now. And obviously, if you proceed with the mentoring, we'll knock that 30 quid off the mentoring fee. So anybody's got any more questions, please feel free to type away, and I'll come back to you in a couple of minutes. I'm going to mute myself off for a few minutes now, so I'll come back and answer any more questions in a couple of minutes time. Leave this up so you can get the delayed completion strategy video now for £29.99 plus VAT. Hopefully I've shared information with you that's going to help your property future. I'll be back in 3 or 4 minutes. Okay, I'm back now, so I'm just going to click on to the chat side of things again. Pat, the mentorship is for 12 months. However, it's 12 months of finding deals. Any deals you find in them 12 months, I'll see through to completion. Right, so Carl says can't see the video information, so I'm just going to go back to the offer. It might be a problem. I think that's done now. Sorry, do apologise. There is the offer now where you can go and get that. Let me just go back to the questions. Right, Carl said he sees it now. So yeah, you can go and grab it. It's $29.99 plus VAT. It's somewhere close to an hour long, and it's packed out with information in a lot more detail than I shared tonight to help you do stuff. Yeah, Pat, the mentorship is for 12 months, but it's 12 months starting from when you do a deal. Potentially, you can do 3 deals in a year. If you don't have enough cash, we can always find the JV finance for you. Find someone to JV. Because these are so profitable, it's fairly easy to get people to buy into these. Carl can see it now. A Pancho says only got one page of 92 clients. I think you could see it now. And Viva Mahajan says, what other areas do you suggest for extending adding value with an extension? Really, Viva, it's areas that are £400 per square foot or more, the initial house. So that's kind of what we're looking for. So I'm just going to put my mobile in here. Again, just drop me a text if you want me to call you, reference the mentorship, and you should now have the offer up for the $29.99 video, which I'm sure you'll find extremely helpful. And again, once you've watched it, drop me a text, and I'm quite happy to answer any questions that you've got on it. So let me mute myself off again for another few minutes, and if there are any more questions, I'll come back and answer them for you. I'll just leave that offer up for you for a few more. So no more questions coming. Oh, hang on. Salik said, what price would you buy per? So the thing is with these delayed completions, Salik, is we're not actually buying the property. We are exchanging contracts. So we're not having to take mortgages. We're not having to actually buy the properties. We are literally locking it out with the contract. We're doing the work, selling the property on, and the new buyer completes with the seller, and we get the uplift through charges that we put on the property. So there's no I would only be buying stuff between around £400 to £1,200 a square foot. I wouldn't be dearer than that, and I wouldn't be cheaper than £400 a square foot, because the cost of the extension is pretty similar. I know labour's cheaper up north, but the price of actually the materials is pretty similar throughout the UK. But the uplift per square foot is key. So there we go. Viva, there are quite a lot of different criteria other than the £400 per square foot, and they are all in the 1 hour video. So the 1 hour video goes into a lot of details, and it's got about the price per square foot, but it's got all the criteria. One of the things I mentioned about ceiling price in the road, it's essential to check. So it's, you know, it's not going to be a ridiculously dear house down the road when we've done what we've got to do. And it's out keeping with the rest of the properties. So there is a lot of information in the video. So go grab that now at the price that we've got it at the moment, £29.99 plus VAT instead of the normal £97 plus VAT. Any other questions? And hang on again, we've had more questions, so I'm going to hang on for another few seconds and come back to you in another minute or two. Okay, let's go and have a look, see if there's any more questions come in. No more questions come in, so we're going to wrap it all up there. I'm going to leave the screen up for a few more minutes so you can grab the offer of the videos. Other than that, and I will speak to those who messaged me this evening and look forward to speaking to you all again very soon.